Right. So, what we discussed in the last session about different architectures like business architecture, all that. So,
Mm-hmm.
business architecture, anyway, I told you, like business architecture, majorly focusing on the business goals, objective. So, what are the services business architecture provides?
Mm-hmm.
What are the value additions business is having, right? So, who are their competitors? All these things are comes under the business architecture part.
Right.
Whereas the next one about application architecture. Application architecture majorly focusing on what are the types of applications do we have and how these applications were interconnected. In
Mm-hmm.
any organization, you see, for example, if you take a banking application, banking organization, so
Mm-hmm.
there are a couple of applications will be used in the real world and how these applications will be interconnected. That's what something we call it as application architecture.
Yeah.
The third one about systems architecture. You know systems architecture, how the systems were interconnected, one among
Mm-hmm.
all. Again, this is depending on the type of applications they use. For example, when we are using some on-premise applications, we have our own data centers.
Mm-hmm.
We will be maintaining accordingly. If it's a cloud application, then it's a different thing. Cloud environment is what something which normally we do. Whatever the systems and servers and all everything we are using, everything will be under the cloud environment.
Mm-hmm.
Using virtual machines, we connect all that. So that is where generally systems architecture comes into picture. Last but not least, we call it as data architecture. How the data flow process happens from one system to another system. That's
Mm-hmm.
where data architecture come into picture. So these are the different types of architectures which normally we have. So when we try to understand about the application development, as far as the design part is concerned, as I stated yesterday, repeating the same, when we're trying to understand and creating the system analysis design, understanding the architecture is important. And these are the different types of architectures which will prevail.
Mm-hmm.
Now, today I'm going to discuss about the design part of the project because requirement gathering, right? So as a BA, we gather
Right.
requirements, we translate requirements into a documentation format.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever we have translated into documentation format, that has to be implemented by the technical team. So if technical team have want to implement that, first of all, they must be knowing about the design of the project. That is what generally we call it as system designing. Okay, system designing is important.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, the system design we categorized into two different parts. Generally, one is about the high level design part, and second is called low level design.
Okay.
Two
Mm-hmm.
different designings are there. Okay, high level designs are different, low level designs are different. Again, repeating, once the design we are creating, architecture will be placed in the design. Okay, design for the project. Okay, architecture is part of the design what we are creating as a whole.
Okay.
So
Mm-hmm.
when we try to understand about the project designing, usually we categorize this into two different parts, as you can see it on the screen. So one is high level design and second is about the low level design, right? So how it is different, right? So what are the differences you can see from these two things? So the first one, when it comes to the high level design, it's a macro level. It is, which is not micro, it is a macro level. Macro level means the bigger picture of the application solution, what we are developing on screen. That's where generally we call it as macro level. We talk about high level design deals with it. When it comes to the low level design, which is a micro level, means I can say like what are the programs you are going to write. Okay, for example, we are developing a banking application. So how many modules do we have, right? So each and every module, how many functionalities we have. For every functionality, how many what we called um, how many programs are we writing? Okay. So for these programs, what are the data structures are we using? What are the algorithms are we using? So the detailed, minute design related information will be given under the low level design part. But
Mm-hmm.
whereas when it comes to the high level design, it was not the case. That is the first one. Repeating,
Mm-hmm.
repeating again, high level design majorly focusing on the macro level, whereas low level design majorly focusing on the micro level. Point number one. Point number two, when it comes to the high level design part itself is concerned, whatever the network design or the kind of relationships you are going to create, everything will be evident under the high level design part. As I stated, it is a macro level, as I mentioned you. So we should understand about the relations among the systems and as well as the functions. Let's say if you are taking some core banking application, we have somewhere around 10 modules or so, right? So 5 modules, 10 or more than 50, 20, 30 modules we have. So how are these modules was interconnected and what relationships do we have? Means network design. That's what network means, how the data flow happens from
Mm-hmm.
one system to another system. For example, we have a module for CRM. At the same time, we have a module even for what we call module for module for deposits or depositing money and all everything, right? So
Mm-hmm.
customer data, when we talk about the customer ID number or account number, the same number will be continued everywhere. So you don't need to change the number any time. So the same number will be continued in regular intervals so that we don't see any changes in that. The same number will be continued in each and every stage of the application. That's where generally this design part comes into picture, whatever the network designing do we have. All these
Mm-hmm.
things are comes under that category, right? So whatever the system modules do we have, whatever the functionalities do we have, right? So all these things are comes under this part. This is what generally one of the key and important element we have to focus on, right? So what are the different network architecture designs do we have, right? So and how these uh, how this data flow will be accessed. If you take the customer ID number or the account number, the same number will be continued in whichever the process we are using, the same number can be used.
Mm-hmm.
So this for that reason, it is always important to have a network design. Network design means group of networking the systems. Which are we using? Again, I told you some can be on-premise, some can be cloud. So this
Mm-hmm.
is where generally high-level design comes into picture. Now, when it comes to the low-level design is concerned, as I already mentioned you, each and every module, whatever the module are we taken, so each and every module detail explanation will be given under the low-level design part. So high-level design give you the high-level understanding over the project. But whereas when it comes to the low-level design itself is concerned, whatever the detailed information which we are supposed to provide for the module for the particular module will be taken under this category. Next, when it comes to the high-level designs and all, the major focus and as well as the major implementation, understanding everything for the client perspective, because client never get into the micro level thing. Okay, client
Right.
wants something which is macro level.
Mm-hmm.
Macro level understanding, or for example, you are gathering the requirements from a business owner or a project sponsor. They always see from the direction of the solution, in what way this is providing a return of investment for them. They never see what are the modules are required, right? What are the features I want, what are the functionalities. Business owner or a project sponsor never get into that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Clear or not, right? So they never get into that because that's not their cup of tea. Because
Mm-hmm.
we always see in what way the solution you are going to provide will be helpful to us. That's what their focus must. That's what their generally their focus will be. In the
Mm-hmm.
same manner, when we are working on the application, if you see the developer's point of view, if you think from the developer point of view, they always thinks from the different direction, right? So what are the features do they have? What
Mm-hmm.
functionalities do they have, right? So their focus will be in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
So when we are working on the design part, the high level design majorly focuses and targeted towards clients and designing team. Clients nothing but customers, I can say.
Mm-hmm.
Designers means either it can be designing team, I can say. Design team consists of even architectures will be there. I'm talking about system designing people. Okay, I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about that. At the
Okay.
same time, this is something required even for the management team also. right? So
Mm-hmm.
because management team members, right? So all these people will be involved in this category. This is
Mm-hmm.
all something which we see from the high level design point of view. But whereas when it comes to the low level design part itself is concerned, this is majorly targeted and majorly deals with operations team. Why? Because this is a micro level understanding wherein we are planning to identify and we are writing what kind of code are we going to write, right? How many algorithms are we using? That is what generally our focus is. That's the
Mm-hmm.
reason why when we are working on the low level design, it's always important wherever the target audience are not only the design team, but our target audience are even operations team also, because operations team and as well as implementation team will also becomes under this category. So this is how generally the difference you see from high level design to low level design. Again, I'm repeating, high level design, major target will be for clients, designing team, review team, all that. But when it
Right.
comes to the low level design and all, the target audience will be like design team, operations team, implementation team. All these people are comes under the low level design part of the project.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the high level design itself is concerned, majorly detailed about the each and every application what we are going to create, means what are the different systems do we have, right? So whatever the different entities which are involving in the system, right? So how to understand the flow process we have and how this is can be integrated. So that sort of understanding and that sort of detailing generally we do in a high level note. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to the low level design part, it majorly focusing on the configuration. For example, we are using some old legacy system for a very long time in the organization. Now we are transforming to the new application. When we are going to transform the new application, what is required? So data migration is important. So when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to the data migration, flow of the data from one system to another system, how are we migrating is important here. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
because for that we need to create some staging database, right? So at the same time, we need to identify what are the data to be transformed. Either it can be whichever the file format, it can be Word file format, it can be images, or it can be videos or something. So that
Mm-hmm.
file for our JPEG files, PNG files, right? So these file formats will be converted from existing old legacy systems to the new application. So this is where generally this configurations comes into picture. Whatever the required configurations you wants to be performed, whatever the required configuration you want to make. So the configuration part is what something which normally we see when it comes to the low level design part of the project. Because
Mm-hmm.
yes, when we have created a staging database, what we have to do, first of all, whatever the data we have taken, that has to clean. That is where generally ETL process comes into picture. Extract, transform, and load means extracting the data, transforming the data, and loading the data. So this
Mm-hmm.
ETL process is what something which normally we initiates. And whatever the ETL process we have taken, the data has to be transformed from old systems to the new system. This is where generally this process will be majorly useful for. So this is how generally the low level designs comes into existence. Low level design majorly details you, as I stated, focus is even on the configuration of the application. When we are trying to understand the application, when we are trying to detail the application and all, so how this configuration can be taken place. So what
Mm-hmm.
are the different configuration steps to be taken? Because this is a detailed explanation under the low level design part are we going to provide. So this detail you about the configuration steps, what are the different configuration steps to be taken. At the same time, when we are going to configure the application, make sure what are the business rules and government mandates do we have. Because organization to organization, whatever the business rules do they have will vary from one to another. It will not be the same all the case.
Mm-hmm.
So that detailed explanation and the detailed understanding has to be given under the low level design part. Understood?
Okay.
Following
Yes.
Neelam? Right?
Right, sir. Yep.
Right. So this is what generally, which normally comes under the low level design itself is concerned when we are trying to understand about the configuration of etc. all that. Next, when it comes to the high-level design again, the major goal is to convert business goals and requirements into the high-level point of view. I already specified this point in the beginning of our class.
Right.
At the same time, when it comes to the low-level design, so it converts high-level solutions into the detailed solution. So this is a continuation. High-level design will be created first, low-level design will be created next. So
Right.
first is conversion of business first of all, business goals. Second, conversion of business goals. Third, business goals to requirement. Fourth, requirements to high-level solution. This is high-level design. When it
Okay.
comes to the low-level design, from the high-level solution point of view, high-level solution, that high-level solution will be transformed into a detailed solution, and the detailed solution will be transformed into implementation.
Okay.
Understand? Clear?
Yes, I got it.
Right? So this is where generally the high-level designs and low-level designs are comes into picture. This is a continuation point. So this point you have to uh, being a business analysis team, this we have to know very clear because our role is majorly confined over here because the business goals is what something which we do and
All right.
business goals to requirements we create. From requirements to high level solution, the design team will take care of. That high level solutions will be created as a solution and this solution will be implemented, excuse me, will be implemented by the technical team. So this
Right.
part usually from the business analysis point of view is majorly required and majorly useful. Means I think you might have heard about translating business requirements into a technical solution. This is the word we have used many times in the field of.
Right.
So from the detailed point of view, this is the detailing. Okay.
Nice.
Next,
Okay.
next point about when it comes to the high level design again coming back, right? So when it comes to the high level design itself is concerned, which is majorly created for any of the technical documentation, whatever the kind of technical documentation we are going to create. This is generally we create some SRS documents, all that you know. Okay, software requirement specifications, right? So all these
Right.
things that we are preparing. This is all some that comes under the technical documentation part, right? So whatever the high level designs we are going to create, all these things are comes under the technical documentation part. But when it comes to the low level design itself is concerned, normally it is created. So once the high level design document is done, right? So once the high level design document you have created and also this technical documentation will also be created in this regard. So this is all comes under the low level design of the application. What is that are we going to create all that? Now, who is going to create this? This is important. When it comes to the high level design, as I stated, solution architects are the people who will be creating the high level design because they are the one who has to provide solution for the project from the high level perspective. So solution architects are the one who is going to create the high level design of the project. When it comes to the low level designs and all, there are development team, there are design team and project management with the help of project management team. Developer has to write because code, algorithms, what are the different design patterns, all these things will be implemented by the developers. So low level design has to be created by the developers and all. Now, this is where non-functional requirements come into picture because in high level you don't require. But when it comes to the low level design, when a developer is creating how many programs, how many lines of code, right? So all these, normally this is where generally this uh, uh, non-functional requirements come into picture. So non-functional requirements, whatever we have identified, accessibility, availability, reachability, performance, load balancing, these will be taken under this part, this category. This is where generally this will be useful. Yeah, this part is being used in this direction. Whoever the designers, developers we have. So this part normally will be taken into consideration when we are working on. So these are the areas where one should understand and one should focus more on, right? So when we are working on the application, these are the areas which one has to be used and one has to be identified. Next one about software requirement specification because SRS document, usually software requirement specification is the one which normally used in the high level design point of view. But when it comes to the low level design point of view and all, whatever the high level design document we have created and whatever the software requirement specification was created and all, that will be detailed under the low level design part. Last but not least, when it comes to the result orientation, right? So what finally the result you are going to get out of high level as well as low level design is, when we have created a high level design, it gives you a detailed understanding over the database design. Because when we are going to create any kind of database designing is important. So database designing detailing will be given under this. At the same time, whatever the functional design do we have or review designs, all these things are comes under the high level design point of view. That is point number one. High level design majorly focusing on the database designing, functional designing, all that. When it comes to the low level design itself is concerned, whatever the programs are we going to write? What are the different program specifications do we have? At the same time, whatever the different unit testings do we have? All these things are comes under the low level design part. So this is how generally the difference you see from high level to low level design when we are working on the application development. As far as the application development is concerned, transforming from functional roles to the technical roles. This is what the detailed understanding one must be good with. Clear?
Okay.
Understood, Neil?
Yes, sir, got it.
Right. So this is what generally the high level design and low level design all about. And today I'm going to discuss about the architectural perspective. What are the different perspectives when we are going to design the architecture? I'm going to discuss on. Clear?
Okay, sir.
Right, Ella. See you then. Bye.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.